Wow.
Hi, thank you for coming to this live stream. And today I have with me here JJ. And I think most of you guys have already know him because we've done many live streams with him. Like we talked about like how I guess Flutter is not as good as React Native. No lah, we reacted to a lot of things lah, like what do you call that? The learning platform by JetBrains. That was the most previous live stream that we had, and then we reviewed some people's code. But today, we are going to know more about JJ, the life of JJ, and
Okay.
as you can see from the thumbnail, he used to be a blockchain developer, and I think you might be interested in blockchain and what its nuances. But before that, let's welcome JJ. Yay!
Hey. Hi.
Yo,
So my name is JJ. Yes.
how young are you?
I'm 19, turning 20.
19
Yep.
years old, and you have worked in like a blockchain company, which is pretty cool. So, backstory, JJ, how did we first met?
So me and Harris
Tinder.
met at PS Love, where I was doing my first internship. Um, I don't know. Was I a data engineer or data
Yeah,
analyst?
you could say he's like a data
I was just doing some
developer.
data related stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. At PS Love. So that's how we met. Harris was like the other guy doing some random stuff. Um, yeah, and then I realized that he's a very uh,
Hands,
interesting and exotic personality.
handsome guy.
So yes, we hit it off, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how we met.
So I mean, JJ is
What if
just
this sounds
down.
like a 3-year marriage review or something?
What the hell?
How
No,
did
I
you?
mean JJ is downplaying what he actually is. So from what you've seen so far in the thumbnail, right? Why I put Amazon and GovTech is that he had received some offers from them, and then at the same time he worked with me at PS Love as a data engineer intern or whatsoever lah. Basically playing around with data, and then after that he
Mm,
went to intern at a blockchain company.
yep.
So all of this is just like a small part of his life. So let's
Yeah.
go back
Okay.
to the first time that you code. So how do you get started coding, JJ?
So I didn't really get started like I didn't started out wanting to code, I guess. Coding was kind of like the thing that I didn't want to do at first. So when I was it's a small story. When I was younger, I read a book about radios. Right. I was like
Oh, okay.
when I was 12, and I was really fascinated by it because radios, you send signals wirelessly across the world, blah blah blah, all this thing. I thought it was really cool. So I decided to learn how to build my own radio. So I got into electronics, and then after playing around with some electronics like foxhole radios and some other stuff, I discovered, I guess, microcontrollers, specifically the Arduino. And so, yes, I decided I want to build something with the Arduino, right? So I had to learn coding. So that's how I started learning programming, I guess. After doing that for like a while, I decided that, you know what, I want to do more programming than electronics, simply because I was a bit lazy. Electronics, there's so much stuff. You're like, in your room is messy and stuff. Whereas software is just so easy. It's easy to experiment with. It's easy to, screw ups are just easy. You don't have to like desolder something or whatever. You just Control Z and then just write it again. So yeah, I started coding more. Then I guess I met a mentor. And it's not really a mentor. Okay, it's kind of like a mentor slash tutor. So when I was 13, so I started learning programming from him. At that time, he was a undergrad at National University of Singapore, where he was doing a double degree in com science and abstract mathematics. If I'm not wrong. Yeah. So
Interesting.
uh, yeah. So I learned programming from him for a year or two before I continue playing around. So
How
yeah,
do
I
you
guess.
meet this mentor?
Oh, to be honest, at that time, my mom saw that I really like programming, so she just
Right.
asked my friends, and someone somehow knew this guy, and then I met him. After a while, he was just talking about like what he did and stuff, and like I was really like I really like what he did. Like he was um not like a specific thing that he does or whatever. It's just that the vibe that he gives off is like it's like I can see myself in him. Like he's like super geeky. I guess
So you see
nerdy.
like a reflection,
Yeah, at that time I saw that he is the person that I wanted to be. Like
right?
if I was at his age.
Your
Yeah.
first idol.
Yeah, I guess you can say that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was so yeah, so I decided to like I asked him if I could like pay him basically and like take it as like tuition, I guess. So
Right.
that's when I first started learning more. So yeah, yeah, that's how I got started, I guess.
Right. So I think that's a very interesting story because you started with like electrical or like I would say hands-on stuff, right? Because you
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
make radio and then you
yeah,
went to have explored Arduino. So
yeah.
what was the age that you get started reading about radios?
Like the first book I got about radios was like when I was 10, 11, but I didn't really
So
understand
like
it.
almost like a decade ago that you
Yeah, yeah,
got
yeah,
your interest.
yeah.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
So
And
I only like really started exploring like the radio stuff like when I was 12. When I was like more like I guess free, because in Singapore I was doing like PSLE at that time, so
right,
I was like focused on studying and stuff. So
yeah.
yeah,
That's cool because I guess like because maybe some people will get interested in electrical or like physical stuff and then they will continue. But for you, you switched from like hands-on to like software because the lazy reason of just you don't want to make a mess, which is fine also, which is fine.
I mean
Uh,
I still like electronics. I still play with
right,
them and stuff, but it's
yeah,
just that I would say like for me, firstly, it's because it's easier to do software than electronics. That's how I feel.
yeah.
And secondly, I feel that with software, you can build much more complex things compared to electronics. Like electronics is like fun, interesting. I learn a lot about concepts and stuff. But for software, it's just the
Are you
ability to
complex
build.
shaming electrical engineers?
No, not really. I guess my level wasn't that high enough to build what I want to build. Whereas in software, it's much easier to progress, I guess. So
Right. Maybe
yeah,
it's also because that if you want to learn more complicated like wiring or I don't know those electrical stuff, right? You have to buy more stuff.
oh
Well, I
yes.
guess
Firstly is that you need more. Like for certain projects, you might want to have better equipment and stuff,
right,
and you need the components. And thirdly, it's like the concepts itself is not easy to understand. I guess it's not as intuitive as software, right? Because like
right.
as we know, software is entirely man-made. It's just human abstraction. It's just how we think, right? Whereas electronics is a lot of like natural world phenomenal and stuff. So
Oh
like,
God, sorry, my lights just go.
oh, that's
This is
interesting.
very unprofessional, but my lights. Okay, continue.
You do not see this every
Wonderful.
day in an interview. Yikes. So
Oh my God.
stand by
Stand
for
by, technical.
technical difficulties. You could.
Hi, welcome to welcome back.
Yes, glad to have you back here.
Things like these things kind of happen, So yeah, you were
Sure.
saying
Well, where were we?
you were saying about electrical stuff. You need to buy more. While what do you
Right,
call that?
right.
Software
Oh
is more
yeah.
abstraction.
Like phenomenals, like you have to understand a lot more. Like in I would say electronics to do something. Whereas in software, it's kind of like okay, to a certain extent in software, it's kind of like if you just copy and paste, sometimes you can get something working, and then you can like learn like in the backwards direction. Like you get it working first, and you kind of learn from the back. Whereas electronics is much more harder to do that. I guess it's much more like for example, you can't have electronics that's like okay, you can, but it's like it's harder to get it like half working first, where software you can get it like half working then fully working or whatever, right? Whereas
Yeah.
electronics
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
most time it's
You have
either
to
right
get
or
it
wrong.
right first, and then you can continue.
Right,
It's like a incremental kind of like
right.
success.
And you
Right.
have a
I get
lot
it.
of like you need a lot of like foundational knowledge. So like when I
Mm,
was doing electronics, one of my favorite things to do was actually building amplifiers for
right.
like for speakers and whatever. So
Oh, that's cool.
just like it sounds easy, and like you see companies do like loudspeakers and stuff, it's easy, but if you have to build everything yourself, it's kind of you need to know a lot more concept than like building a website or something like that. So that's why I guess
Definitely.
yeah, I mean the lazy part in me got to me, and
Yeah.
uh,
So I mean, yeah, yeah. Because for me, I also played around with electronics, and I would say first of all, you need to get it right the first time when you do electronics, and the risk of it is cheaper if you were to do in software, because if you were to for example spoil an Arduino circuit board, you have to buy another one to get it working.
yeah,
While software, when you have a bug, you can just Google it and maybe find a solution.
yeah.
Yeah.
And in software, I mean, in electronics, there are some versions of this that's much more difficult. But in
Right.
software, you have version control, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in
Yeah, actually, yes,
electronics,
that's true. Yeah, you can basically like time travel back to
yeah,
your, you can reset basically without
yeah,
any what do you call it, repercussions in terms of, I would say, financially, because when you're young, right, like robotics or electronic stuff you have to buy. So either you have
yeah.
very nice parents to
And
buy for you, and yeah.
that's right. And it's not just like expensive or whatever. It's just that some components it's just very difficult to like buy it like one off.
Yeah,
It's not like
yeah,
Arduino you
yeah.
just buy one board. Like if I want to buy a
You have to buy
transistor
more.
or a
Yeah,
single
yeah.
resistor, I
That's
can't buy
true.
like one. Like they're not gonna ship something that costs less than like a cent. So
Right, right. That's
yeah.
true. Okay, so with that said, how do you then like get your interest from electronics and then software, and then your experience as how do you get even the job as a blockchain developer?
Right. I guess why not? Okay, slightly related, but I guess like when I started off programming, it's for like Arduino and like electronics, right? So it's
Yep,
like super low level. So
yep,
after I did a bit of that, I focused on C programming, which
right,
is also very low level. And when I went to school, I studied computer engineering. I got a diploma in that. So when I was doing that, although it's computer engineering, I would say like 80% of the programming is focused on low level programming, like for microcontrollers and stuff. So I really like focus on that a lot. And after a while, I guess those are interesting and stuff. But after a while, I wanted to like go so-called higher level, like more
right.
abstract levels. So I started
Easier.
learning not easier, but like more. You build more complex, or like you build more towards the user level than the
Mm,
electronics level.
yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I started exploring more. So after learning C, I guess I mean I learned a bit of C plus plus too, but I guess so. I think like after that I explored more and more high level languages, and like from Java, Python, JavaScript definitely. Um, yeah, and some others. So after exploring those high level languages, I focused quite a bit on JavaScript, simply because it was I kind of
Popular.
liked it. No, I like the way like we think in JavaScript. Some people think it's very ugly, some people think it's bad. I guess it can be bad if you let it be bad. Like if you enforce certain rules and stuff, it can be good. And it's just easy to hack around, right? It's like and that was kind of like the main reason why I moved higher and higher up the abstraction level. Like when
Right.
electronics is difficult to hack around, in
Yeah.
C it's also not that friendly, and like in JavaScript it's just so easy to hack around stuff. So I guess I really like JavaScript, and like from my experiences with other languages, there isn't any package manager that is as friendly as npm.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
Yeah.
like you can say pub, but that's only for Dart, which like is not really widely used, or like Cargo for Rust programming language, which also isn't it's widely used, but it's not as scripty. script
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
JavaScript. So I
Yeah.
guess JavaScript had like the perfect combination of ease of use, convenience, existing ecosystem, great build tools and stuff. Yeah, so I guess I really liked it and I stuck with it. So from there, I started. Obviously, when I was doing JavaScript, I started with Node.js actually, so backend
Mm-hmm.
JavaScript, and I also did a bit of front end JavaScript, and yeah, I did more and more backend JavaScript stuff. So I guess that's what got me into building like servers backend, so stuff like that, writing
Yeah.
server code and stuff. So yeah, after doing that for a while, I started working at PS Love, right? Which I guess yeah, I started doing SQL over there, right? So and afterwards, finally, when I left PS Love, I have enough experience in like backend, I guess, to get hired into this blockchain company to do my internship. So originally, I was hired to do build their backend
Right.
in Go, so the Go programming language.
Yeah.
However, like the day that I was so-called hired or offered, till the day that I actually started working was at least a was 2 to 3 months gap.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
by the
okay.
time I kind of got there, as you know, startups move fast.
Yeah.
They kind of already did what they hired me to do.
Yeah.
So they basically came out with a few other projects, I guess, and I just somehow, started working on blockchain stuff, which I had no prior experience in before entering, I guess. I didn't even know, like, I kind of knew what's Bitcoin, but I didn't really understand any of the concepts at all. So yeah, when I entered, I was basically start from fresh, and then
Right.
I just, started doing
So
that.
right. So like basically, in terms of like your work at Taurus, right, which is the company you work as a blockchain developer, you started off as like a backend developer, and then after that you
No, I started
is
off
it
as a smart contract developer.
oh smart
So
contract.
like
Oh wow, smart contract. Okay,
a
all
smart
right,
contract is basically a piece of code that runs on the blockchain. So
yeah. Okay,
yeah.
so before that, question: what
Hmm.
is blockchain for those people out there who thinks blockchain
Okay.
is Bitcoin?
So okay. Okay. Okay.
In very simple terms. Hopefully, you
Okay.
can
I'm
explain
thinking.
that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Like let's say in a few lines of words.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Because blockchain. Okay. I assume most of our viewers have some technical understanding, right? So, okay, to start off, number one, blockchain is just a type of data structure, right?
Okay.
It's like an array, linked list, like a data structure like this, right? So, what's unique about this data structure is simply that the data created previously is linked to the new data. That means every single piece of data that you ever create in time is linked to each other, which means
It's
that
like Git.
yes, it's essentially Git. Git is also like a so-called blockchain.
Blockchain. Right.
So your new version is always based on the old version,
Yeah.
right? So essentially that's how blockchains work. Your new data is based on the old data, and this gives a few unique characteristics. The first characteristic is that it is you can verify the integrity of a piece of data, meaning
Right.
that if the last piece of data is accurate, I can assume that the first piece of data is also accurate, because if I change the first piece of data, the last piece of data will change, and so on, right? So basically, I can't change any piece of data in between before the last piece of data without changing the last piece of data, right? And how they guarantee this integrity is just using this method called hashing. So okay,
So,
okay, that's kind of
okay,
very
let me
technical.
summarize what you said so far. Basically, right, all of these data or information is linked together, and the
Yes,
only way for it to increase or increment, right, is to hash it. So with
like to
hashing,
append, like you
yeah, to
append a piece
append
of
or
data.
to move on to the new
Yes,
for example, a new Git version, right? You probably
yes,
have to hash it. So in order for you to make sure that your information at the back is somehow related to the front, right? Uh, the
The
hash
hash,
method is the one that
yeah,
says like, oh, okay, yeah, the for example,
yes, because if you change a single bit, even a single bit, the hash output will change,
right,
right?
right,
So
yeah,
basically, the hash guarantees that the input value never ever changed. So okay,
okay,
this is all a bit, I guess, slightly too technical, but the key point is this ensures that the data structure itself is tamper-proof. That means if I tamper with the data before this piece of data will get changed. You get me? So like if I have two pieces of data, if I change one, the other one will change.
right,
Which means that as long as anybody tries to modify this data, I will know. I can
right,
very quickly know that hey, somebody tried to modify this data without permission or something like that. Right?
right, right, right.
Essentially,
So
this is
yeah,
blockchain is. And for certain blockchains, for example, so okay, blockchains can be used for a lot of things, right? Like Git and stuff like that. So for Bitcoin in particular, this data structure is used to ensure so this blockchain itself for Bitcoin, it holds like a account balance for
right,
everybody's accounts. It's like
yeah,
your bank account, right? So the good thing about this is that if anybody tries to modify anybody's bank account balance without your approval, you can immediately know that everybody
right,
on the network can see it, right? They'll say, "Hey,
because it's
this one,
public.
right? It's public, it's shared, right?"
Yeah,
So this is what it's essentially used for, the tamper-proof characteristic of it, right?
right,
So this is
right,
what Bitcoin is kind of used for. So Bitcoin is basically a set of like protocols and like rules and stuff on top of this blockchain data
mm,
structure that
mm-hmm.
allows you to have a tamper-proof ledger, like bank ledger, right?
Yeah,
So that everybody can see and make sure it's accurate. So that's what Bitcoin is. That's what the blockchain for Bitcoin is, right? So then for me personally, I was working on the Ethereum blockchain network, right?
right,
So Ethereum is very similar. Okay, it's not super similar, but it's similar. Okay, that concept is similar. So what Ethereum does is that not just is it like for you to store data. So what happens is you can also store code as data, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
what you can do
Any
if
type
you
of
store
data, basically.
right. So if
Right,
you store code as data, what you can do is you can use the Ethereum virtual machine, like your Java virtual machine, to execute this code, and you can perform actions that is publicly verifiable, right? Because all the data is public, the program data itself is public. So if you execute this code, anybody else can run the code again to ensure that hey, your calculation is valid and stuff. So basically, what Ethereum blockchain is basically the same blockchain data structure, but it adds support for executing code and stuff on top of it, um, to allow you to run code in a tamper-proof manner and in a distributed manner, where more than one
right.
participant have control of the network instead of like just one party, like a bank, right? So essentially, that's kind of like general idea. So
So, like, can you better explain it? So you talk about code that can be run on the, I guess, network. So you
right,
mean like, can I run a mobile app, or is
no,
it
no,
like
no.
a script?
So okay, so generally speaking, okay, so the code that runs on the network is called smart contracts, right? So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
where
Explain
smart
what is smart
contract.
contracts. Yeah.
Yes, okay. So smart contracts, we also okay. There's a few aliases. So we also call them distributed application or DApps.
Yes. Yeah.
So essentially, what smart contract is that usually these are small pieces of program that allow you to add new data to the blockchain. Okay, do you follow me? So
Yeah.
for example, let's say I have a okay. So usually what happens is for a bank, right? Let's just talk about bank. Bank is like one of the easiest example in this. So for a bank, let's say if I work to make a withdrawal, right? I will make a request to the bank's server, right? The bank server says that okay, you know what, it's all good, and then they will give me a okay response, and then they will deduct the amount from their database in my account, right?
Yeah.
So in this process, we rely that the bank, we trust the bank to execute this code correctly, and we trust the bank that my money is safe with you, and you won't just like take it away from my account and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that trusting, right? Whereas in a smart contract program, an alternate solution is that instead of submitting it to the bank, we store the code that the bank usually runs in the blockchain itself, right? So firstly, this code becomes tamper-proof, right? That means nobody can change this code without us knowing about it. And
Right.
secondly, this code itself is public. That means anybody can see it, right? Which means that if they try to hide something malicious inside, let's say steal blah blah blah's money, something like that, everybody will know about it, right? Because it's public, it's
Right.
tamper-proof, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And secondly, how do we execute this code? So let's say if I want to make a withdrawal, okay. So instead of requesting to the bank, I will submit a message to say I want to run this bank code with this piece of data on the blockchain. So
Right.
one of the nodes, so nodes is like a, in other terms, you may have heard this thing called miners in Bitcoin and stuff. So basically, they are the people who run the blockchain network.
Using a
They,
computer lah. So
yes,
it's
yes,
like a automated machine that just runs the um
yes, the
blockchain.
node, yes, the blockchain node.
Right.
Correct. So, okay, so why do we need this? Okay, so it's because in a bank example, right, they pay for their own server, right? They have their own servers and stuff, right? Whereas in a distributed system, like who pays for the server and stuff, right? How do you pay for the server, right? So the concept is that instead of one person controlling the server and everything, everybody can run their own blockchain node. A blockchain node is essentially a piece of software on your server, right? That
Yeah.
you can
You
take
run
requests from.
continuously lah.
Right, right. So
Right.
in essence, basically what this means is that there can be thousands and thousands of people running these servers. So it's
Mm.
decentralized, it's distributed, so nobody controls the server at all. So there's no more need to trust a particular there's no need to trust like a particular user or particular server, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is you will submit a request to the blockchain to say that, hey, I want to execute this transaction, okay? And inside this transaction, I want you to run this code, which is the bank's code that is
Mm-hmm.
public, remember? And then
Yeah.
we'll run it with this input. The input being, say, like, for example, I want to withdraw this amount of money, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is one of the miners, okay, we call them miners or node operators, right? They operate the node. So the server will take this request and then they will run this transaction. They will read the code from the blockchain and then they'll take your input and then they'll run it. And then what
So
happens is you
any
have a
kind of nodes or miners, is it
yes,
by random?
anybody, yes, random. So
Random.
okay,
Okay.
it's not 100% random. It's random and you also based on your network location and stuff like that.
Oh, the
And this
closest.
depends on to a certain extent, yes, but this
Yeah.
depends very specifically on what blockchain you are in. It
Mm.
depends on what type of blockchain. It depends on which version. It depends on many factors.
Yeah.
But it is so-called random, at least to us. Like it's very
Yeah.
hard for us to try to say that I want this particular node. It's
That's
generally
true.
difficult.
Yeah.
So what happens is the node operator, they will run this code with the input and then they'll get an output, right? So what happens is after they have this output, they will put it inside this new block, right? So in blockchain, we have blocks of data that are chained together for tamper-proof integrity, right? So what happens is after I get this new block, I will submit it, I'll broadcast it to the whole network, to every single node operator in the world, right? So every single node operator, when they receive this block, what they do is basically they will rerun every single calculation inside that block again. Right. For example, I say
From
use
start to
this bank
end.
program. Yes. Use this
Right. Wow.
use
Yeah.
this bank program and then you run this input, right? And then you
Mm-hmm.
get the output. So
Yeah.
every single node operator, they will do it again. And then they will also get the output block, right?
Mm.
So after they get the output block, what happens is they will compare with the block that they received. Okay. And
Yeah.
if these two matches exactly, they know that okay, this guy is saying the real thing. They are
Right.
not this person is not like lying to me. So after everybody agrees that this new block is valid, is accurate calculation, what happens is they will add this new block to the end of the chain. You get it? So they'll append it to this blockchain, their own
Right.
blockchain, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's blockchain is now updated to this new version, right? And then so what happens is the next time, let's say after you withdraw, right? In the next transaction, let's say as the user, I will call the network, say, okay, can I get my balance? And so what happened is when I get my balance now, because every blockchain already updated to the latest blockchain, they will just read through all the blocks to calculate what's my balance.
Right.
You get me? So they will
Yeah.
look through every single block. They will see, okay, so for example, the first block start, let's say one coin, and the next
Mm.
one minus 0.1, then minus 0.1 plus 0.2, whatever. So they will add all of those up, sum it up, and then that's my account value. And
Right.
in this way, I know that my account value is always accurate. Nobody can actually tamper with it. And yeah, and I can know the exact sequence of how everything happened. And so this is a very useful characteristics for certain industry where you
Mm.
need to have tamper-proof data, where I can't trust, let's say, a certain other entity to handle my data other than myself. So yeah, so this is essentially what blockchain is for, and that's what a smart contract is. So a smart contract is essentially a piece
Ooh,
of program.
that's a
Yeah,
whole lot of like
yeah, yeah.
explaining.
So
Yeah.
okay, and as you know, right, a lot of people think that, oh, I'm a mobile developer. Can I just move my code on the blockchain or something like that? No, so that's not exactly
No.
how it works.
Right.
So blockchain programs, as you can see, right, is very computationally expensive. When one guy calculates the result, everyone else have to run the same calculation again to verify the results,
It's
right?
like a mobile app update. Everyone has to update to the latest version.
Yes, yes. So it's, let's say for example, if you calculate 1 billion value into pi, then everybody needs to calculate it, which is
Yeah.
super expensive, right?
Yeah.
So how do we
Yeah.
prevent this? So firstly, in order to submit a transaction to the blockchain, okay, and if the transaction passes through and it's added to the block, you have to pay a bit of money, right? So how do you pay this money? So this money is basically the blockchain's native currency. For example, on the Bitcoin blockchain, it is Bitcoin. On the
Right.
Ethereum blockchain, it is Ether, right?
Yeah.
So basically, you have to pay a bit to incentivize the miners or the node operators to
To
run these
run this
calculations for you,
calculation. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because they are paying for their own servers, they are hosting all this, they are
Correct.
storing all this data for you. So they need to be incentivized. So they're incentivized by the money that you pay, right? So think of it this way, okay? When you join a conventional bank, what happens is they don't charge you any money, okay, for most consumers. They don't charge you any money. However, because your money is with them, they can use your money and they can earn more money from it, earning interest and stuff. However, they do not
Right.
share the interest with you because the interest is part of their revenue and they use part of that money to run the servers and stuff, right?
Mm.
Whereas in a blockchain, nobody uses your data for all this stuff. It's just your data. It's decentralized, distributed. So
Yeah.
how do you incentivize them to still do this service for you? So you incentivize them to do this service for you by paying them this thing we call gas. Gas is essentially like a small transaction fee. You can think of it that way. So
Yeah.
yes, that's how we incentivize them to execute stuff. And so the thing is, if I were to make a super expensive calculation, I need to pay a lot of transaction fee, right? And firstly, this prevents people from spamming the network and trying to do expensive computation because at the end of the day, even if you do expensive computation, you make the whole network slow down, you still need to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
So it's not very good for the attacker. And the next thing is, so okay, so basically we need to keep the program simple. So most smart contract programs on the blockchain are actually super, super simple. Okay. So most of these programs, the key purpose of them is to guarantee a few things. So these programs usually, the first feature they have most of the time is to guarantee that only you can modify your own data. Does that make sense? So let's say I have a bank account, right? The bank program doesn't
Mm.
mean that Harris can use, say, okay, withdraw $10 from JJ's account, right?
Yeah.
Then everybody can withdraw from my account, which doesn't make any
Exactly.
sense,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
So the program itself is used to verify that I am who I say I am and I actually own that account.
Right.
So you can think of it in that sense. So the purpose of these smart contracts or these DApps or dApps is just firstly to verify some form of ownership most of the
Mm-hmm.
time, and secondly they are there to do very very simple computation. For example, simple withdrawal,
Yeah.
add a piece of data to the blockchain. They are there to do very simple things. They are not there to like if you need any advanced computation no needs, you're not supposed to use the blockchain. The blockchain is just there for you to verify your data and to
Yeah.
ensure your data integrity. So that's the
Right.
whole point of blockchain. That's why um, going from a normal I would say programming experience into blockchain is quite different because you have to
It
kind of
is.
change the way you think,
Yeah.
especially if you're very used to server side development. The way the data travels and stuff is a lot more different. A
Yeah.
lot more of the computation is shifted into the front end also. So to a certain extent, you can think of blockchain as your public database
Mhm.
that is tamper proof. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow. Thanks for the free lecture on blockchain. And I
Yeah.
also, and the thing is that what JJ is saying, for most of you guys, I think it will be something new. For myself, I've already delved into blockchain, so I already know what he's trying to say. So there's a lot of things that if you are like from a, like what JJ said, right? If you're from like a typical web or mobile or Python development or whatsoever, right? It's really a different kind of development.
Right.
And like
And if you're
blockchain,
looking to like go into it like just to learn and then like find a job in like a week or two, it's a lot more difficult
you
than
can't get a job in I mean any kind of development job in 1 week or two, I would say lah. You need a
I
lot
mean
of time.
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it is a very different way of thinking in how you are trying to,
Mm,
I would say, create in a blockchain lah. So
right, right.
thanks for this lecture. So but like before that, right, how did you get a job? Because I think blockchain is something, I wouldn't say it's like a mainstream thing. It is
Yes.
something that is
It's not
a hype
mainstream.
thing, but it's not a mainstream in terms of development. I will go to a meetup, for example, a tech meetup. I will ask maybe 100 developers, maybe 3 or 4 or even one, right, is a blockchain developer.
Right.
So like
I would say that
how,
primarily right
yeah,
now in the industry, is super hyped about blockchain and stuff because,
yeah,
like, for most non-technical people, they may not understand it. They will see like,
yeah,
oh, it's a coin or something. Whereas for a lot of business people, they will see that this solves a lot of their issues in terms of data integrity, right? How do
right,
I ensure this piece of data is real? And also this brings interesting possibilities for certain industry like supply chain management and stuff, right? Like how do I trust that, hey, you really, let's say, delivered this thing or something like that. Like
right,
with this, like solutions like this, you can actually very clearly verify that, okay, everybody is like doing what they say they are doing and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah,
So because of these possibilities, the industry is quite hyped up now. And I would say that, to be honest, right now, even the creator of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, he said that Ethereum is just beta software, right? Because
not
the
production
blockchain,
ready.
yeah, the blockchain industry is still very, very young. Like you may think that, oh, we are advancing so much in blockchain and stuff. Like yes, we're advancing in blockchain. However, although there is a lot of hype and excitement in it, there is not a lot of concrete um I would say
Implementation. Oh,
contributions
okay,
like to
right.
the industry and ecosystem,
Mm,
compared to other industries. For example, even like random programming languages have more uh, interest in it than blockchain. Like I would say, blockchain right now is primarily moved forward by a relatively small group of people. Like
right,
for example, Ethereum Foundation is one of them. They hire some of like the top contributors to the Ethereum blockchain and stuff.
right,
But at the end of the day, compared to the wider software ecosystem, it's a very small group of people, right?
right.
Even like if you would even think of it, right, there's more people right now still building stuff for Python 2 than for blockchain.
Right.
And that's an issue that some of you may face if you are entering the blockchain industry, is that it is so new. And to be honest, a lot of the things that you're trying to do if you enter blockchain industry is like it's either just like people just figure out how to do it, or like nobody did it before. And
Right.
you have to somehow figure it out yourself. A lot of times it's kind of like you don't
There's no of documentation or support. I would. Is it?
Yes, like you have to understand a lot of like in-depth knowledge before you can like extrapolate your knowledge to like try to build something on it. It's not as it's not as hand holding, I would say, compared to let's say building a web server in Python Flask. That's like the level is it's not the same developer experience.
So you would say
So
that, like, I would say, the learning curve is way steeper than a
yes, it's way
normal
steeper.
server.
Especially like, and the thing is, right, like if you think of it, the Ethereum blockchain that I mean Ethereum blockchain, which is what I was working on, is like the number two blockchain in the world, right after
Mm,
Bitcoin. And
yeah.
Ethereum blockchain is one of the biggest blockchain in the world in terms of smart contract development because Bitcoin
Yes.
doesn't really fully support it.
No.
So Ethereum is like basically the biggest in this field right now.
Number one is smart
So
contracts.
even if it's number one, the amount of like work you need to do yourself is tremendous. And let alone if let's say you are to build, let's say, there's like other blockchain like off the top of my mind, let's say
Litecoin.
what other blockchain, yeah, or like Ethereum
Forgot.
Classic, or like
Yeah.
other stuff like I think ZOS or something like that.
I don't know.
Basically like all these other blockchain networks like Tron or something, all these are like you have even less help, like you
Right.
have
Yeah.
to,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
so
Yeah.
like it will be even harder for you.
Mm,
There are many blockchains that build upon Ethereum and
mm.
try to simplify a lot of stuff so that it's easier for developers and stuff, but at the end of the day, without mass adoption, it's still really really difficult. And right now we are still really at like the super early stage. And yeah, and even
Didn't know that.
like thing that we've been hearing for so long, which is proof of stake, right? I'm not sure if
Yeah.
you, yeah. So proof of stake versus proof of work. I'm not gonna get into details for
Nope.
this, but
No. No. That's gonna be another hour. Oh my god.
right. Basically, this is just about how you verify data.
Yeah.
So
That's yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
proof of work is expensive. It
Yeah.
uses electricity and stuff, whereas proof of stake doesn't really use that much, and proof of stake is faster. So
Mm.
for the past few years, the industry has been trying to mass adopt proof of stake over proof of work,
Because
but I
it's
think
cheaper
it's
lah.
just so difficult that I mean, till this date, after a few years of promising that it's gonna come soon, it's still not really here, like in terms of mass adoption rate and stuff. So yeah, I guess if you're interested in looking at it, it's super interesting, definitely. It's a whole new way of thinking and stuff. But the amount of work you have to be prepared to do, it's
Yeah. It's
yeah.
I would say, like, for myself, I guess I dwell not so deeply in blockchain, in like machine learning, and then in normal development, right? I would, like, out of the three, I don't know if you will agree, right? There's learning curve, right, for blockchain with machine learning. I would say, like, I don't know which one is harder. I would say machine learning more because it's more mathematical. Blockchain not so, because I would say, even though there's like this is a little bit in depth, but there's like encryption, and then there's a lot of concepts that you have to like learn. And then development is like way easier because this is something that we are so used to, right? So, like,
Right, right.
for those out there who
The
wants to
key
learn,
difference I would say, yeah, sorry.
yeah,
Basically, blockchain is more breadth, and AI and ML is more depth.
right,
So
yeah,
yeah,
that makes
basically,
sense.
if you were to choose one, it's, I wouldn't say, I would say both are hard, but they're hard in different ways. One is just too much topics to understand before you start something. The other one is you need to, in order to build something more complex, you have to learn a lot very deep in a particular
Right,
subject.
yeah, that's
So
true.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
the difference.
Yeah. So, and the thing is that other than blockchain, right, you also get offers from I would say big companies like Amazon, and then also GovTech. For those who don't know what GovTech is basically like a government tech agency, and they usually work on government stuff, lah. A lot
Related
of
projects in
legacy
Singapore.
stuff, big projects also. So,
Like no no no
like,
no no. GovTech is like it's like the new cool kids. So like they are the
the
one who like, because they're kind of like a so-called, they're kind of run like a private organization to a certain extent. So that's why like they are not like governments that build a lot of like legacy tech. They actually use like cool stuff.
yeah, they
Uh,
try to implement cool stuff, but they also, like I have friends inside, and then sometimes they have to like revamp certain architecture because some of the services in any like government agencies are a bit too old or too
Yeah.
slow. But okay, aside from that, right? How do you get these offers, especially at the age of 19-year old? Because I guess like honestly, in a like okay, this is before COVID or coronavirus pandemic, right?
Mm.
Like before, like how are you able to get this kind of offers? Because I guess not a lot of people at your age do get these offers.
So I think I'll start with the GovTech one first. It's easier. So I'm sure a lot of Singaporeans this year who are graduating students will receive this thing called open certs, right? They'll get a certificate. They'll get a digital certificate from this year onwards, essentially. So I mean, like most people who graduate from polytechnics this year in Singapore, or people who graduate from universities. So basically, it's all powered. The digital certificate is all powered by this platform called Open Certs. So what Open Certs is essentially blockchain. So what happens
Yay!
is basically people realize that there's an issue with normal paper certificates in the sense that how do you verify that this certificate is real or is true, right? It's truly yours that you actually that the school actually what do you call that presented you with, right? So how do people verify this? And secondly, if this certificate is, let's say the paper certificate gets old and stuff, or you lost it or whatever, how do you still prove that you are a student, you were a student there, or you graduated from there? Like so right now, employers or whoever, they need to like call up the school or something like that, verify this is real, which is very tedious and stuff. So what better way to verify a piece of data than to put it on a publicly available tamper-proof system, the blockchain. So
Yeah.
the open source platform basically is what happens is, if I'm not wrong, I don't fully know how they work yet, but from my basic understanding is after they issue a certificate to you, they will store the hash onto the blockchain network, and this hash thing, this transaction is submitted by the school that is issuing this certificate. So, for example, the National University of Singapore, let's say if they were to issue you a certificate, they will create a new transaction with this certificate's hash, and they will store it on the blockchain. So
Right.
for any employer that wants to verify whether this is really true, all they have to do is they can upload the certificate to the opensource.io website, if I'm not wrong, and then basically the website will query the blockchain network to see if this is real. And if it's
Right.
real, then then they will tell that hey, this is authentic, this is real, this guy is basically real and stuff, right? So yeah, so essentially that's what open certs is. Very
Nice.
cool project. Very, I would say, a very practical.
It is. It is
One
very
of the
practical.
most practical applications of the blockchain I've seen
It
so
makes
far.
sense basically.
Right, it's
Makes
like the
sense.
perfect combo.
Application. Yeah.
Publicly available, tamper-proof, data. Right.
Like yeah,
So
because also one more thing I want to add is that like sometimes people can, lie their way like, oh, I've
yeah,
graduated from NUS Com Science. Let me work at Google, something like that. So this
yeah,
is like a good way
yeah.
to double check. Yeah.
Right. And you don't need to like trouble the administrative
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah, so like
Cost
so you
effective.
just yes, exactly. And this also firstly this also means that the school no longer have to print certificates and issue them, and
Yes.
students won't lose certificates or anything. If you
Yeah,
need, you
oh my
just
god, that's
request for
so
another
that's so
copy,
true. Yeah.
right? So this is all the advantages and why they did it. So yeah, basically what happens was basically this open source platform, they use, if I'm not wrong, they use something similar to a identity system that I was building at Taurus. So at Taurus I was building a smart contract. So it's like a program, but this program represents your identity. So it's kind of like for every person, you have your own smart contract program, and
Right.
you control the program to control other stuff, right? So it's like
Right.
this abstraction layer. So I
Hmm.
guess they use something similar, or they had like the idea was built on top of it to a certain extent. So I'm listed on one of the websites. Um,
That's
like I'm
a
listed
what?
on the uh, um, I will send you.
It's okay. What are you listed as a contributor? Is it or
Kind of, I guess, like a developer contributor. So basically, I did participated in like the discussion. I built some proof of concept work for this thing. So basically, this thing is just like a identity standard in the Ethereum blockchain ecosystem. So I guess if I'm not wrong, he kind of saw me on there or something, and then he decided to, like, the guy that
it's
was
like,
in
hey,
charge.
you work on this? Hey, you Singaporean, perfect. We need you. I guess also
Yeah,
at the same time is that, like you said earlier, right? Like blockchain, the community, right? It's not exactly huge or
that's it's
big
pretty
enough.
small.
Yeah, and then at the
Right.
same time, like to get a Singaporean blockchain developer, that's like, and also working on the same or similar technology to what the GovTech open
Yeah,
sets are doing.
yeah,
So I guess that contributed
yeah.
to them asking you, if I'm not wrong, on LinkedIn,
Yes.
on
So I
yeah,
did add the link and my relevant work experience on this on my LinkedIn,
nice.
and so basically I think the guy saw it or somehow. So yeah, the guy just reached out to me. We
Do
talked
you know
about
how
it.
much, like, if you were to get offered, do you know how much you get paid?
Oh, this I'm not too sure, but
Right.
because at that time I was still working at Taurus, so
Taurus, right? Yeah.
I didn't really want to leave. Primarily because the project I was working on still isn't complete. It was
Right.
kind of like a massive undertaking.
Hmm.
So we're
Understand.
kind of trying to replicate what other companies did, but with less money and less people. So it was
Startup
slightly,
culture.
yeah, startup culture essentially. So it was slightly difficult. So and the thing is, at that point I was like, I wouldn't say complete, but I would say like we were like we were we were mm, I'll say we're in the flow to a certain extent. So
Right.
I didn't really want to leave and stuff. So
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it's a little
but
bit abrupt for you to work for someone else also, lah.
yeah.
Since you
So
are already
yeah,
so invested into the
yeah,
technology itself.
right.
Right.
So basically, yeah, that's how I was so called
Cool.
offered, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
it's for GovTech. So
How about
yeah, I
Amazon?
mean, so Amazon was, I have no idea how the Amazon thing came to be honest. So I guess I actually got an email from this
Oh, an
recruiter.
email. Wow. Not like a LinkedIn. No,
No.
email.
It was
Nice.
an email from this Asia Pacific Amazon recruiter.
Wow.
So I forgot the full details, but the essence was just saying that he was, through some targeted search, he found my profile, and then he
Nice.
thinks that I have the enough relevant experience and stuff.
Blockchain.
No. For that, actually, it wasn't really blockchain. So
Right.
for that particular role, they were looking for open source developers and developer tooling. So that was like one of the things I
Ah,
was really interested in, because
right.
I'm the type of developer that will spend more time configuring um, how to develop or like setting up my stuff than to than actually writing code.
I
I'm
mean,
guilty of that a
yeah.
lot.
You do you,
I'm
man.
the type of person that is like, if for example recently, um I was slightly tired with using my mouse, so I decided to write a VS Code extension so that I can use my keyboard, kind of like
Like
my
Vim
mouse.
lah. Using Vim to control.
Uh that's not really Vim, but
Uh,
something similar.
mm.
Basically, yeah. So yeah, I'm the type of guy that likes to build stuff for building stuff. So yeah, I was really interested in these
Command
sort of
line
things.
developer
Uh,
or tool
I guess
developer lah.
tool, yeah,
Yeah,
tooling.
tool developer. Yeah, tooling
So and
developer.
I built some open source stuff. They were,
Right.
I guess the guy liked it or something. So the
That's
guy,
great.
basically we had like a phone chat and stuff. Then they
Oh,
asked if like I'm interested in working. So if so at that time, if I were to join and stuff, I will primarily be working and helping to maintain some of the open source tools that Amazon publishes and maintains. Or if
right.
not, I will be working on some open source project that is, I would say, okay, not popular. How do I say? So it's either that, or I'll be working on open source projects that many Amazon users or Amazon customers use. So
Right.
that,
Okay. Makes
so
sense.
like
Makes
yeah, yeah.
sense.
it's like, for example, if an open source project is very vital to a company's success, usually the company will hire some developers to work on it to ensure this project does not die off. So
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
definitely
basically
true. Yeah.
that was the pitch to me.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that was like one of my favorite I would say so-called offers, or like to work or something like that, because that is really something that I would love to work on, right?
Definitely, man.
So yeah, I guess that's kind of out of nowhere though. I have no idea where the guy found me from, whatever, but
Probably
yeah,
GitHub or something. They see your
yeah,
email.
probably
I don't
that,
know.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think from this, what are like some advice, because you get offers from, I would say, not like small startups. These are big or huge companies. Like, what are some advice from your experience that you give to someone who's trying to, get a job at these kind of companies?
um okay, so I guess it's very cliche, right? It's always cliche. But like what most people say, like if you focus too much on finding the job, you might not be able to get it. Like okay, you can do that. So but just like from my own experience, like you definitely are able to do it. Like if you focus on exactly what the job wants, you apply, you get a job, right? However, for me it's more of I focus on what I like to do, and it just somehow turned out to be what other companies are interested in. So I guess.
It's
So I
like
guess the
it
key thing is
happens to, like, because you're
right,
working on something, then suddenly it happens to be
right.
what a recruiter was looking for.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess it's less of like my advice to be honest is you have to care about what you're doing, and you just find
Mm.
something that you're interested to work on and then just work on it. Like like most of the time, like open source developers don't get paid, blah blah blah, all those stuff things. But like if you think about that, then you're probably not in it like for the right
For
reason.
it lah. Yeah,
Yeah, like for us it's like we don't care whether we get paid or not. It's like it's cool and we like it,
I
and
care.
it's like and like definitely I care about getting
But
paid and
it's
stuff.
like your interest will come first rather than the money
Right, right,
itself,
right,
right? Yeah,
right.
definitely.
So like I'd rather get like a lower paying job building something I care about than a
Right.
higher paying job building something I absolutely do not care about.
Yeah,
So yeah, I guess my advice is just that if you're in it really for the long run, you have to be interested in it, you have to be passionate about it,
that's
you have to
true.
care about it.
That's
And most
true.
importantly, I would say one of the things is that if you're building something, you should somehow be able it should somehow be useful to you, because if it's not useful to you, after a while you probably like just get bored of it and just like
Yeah.
nah, right? So for
Yeah.
me, I was interested in what I was building. Like I use it myself. For example, most recently my VS Code extension, I use it daily myself. So yeah, I'm interested in it. I like maintaining it. I like building more features for it. So yeah, if you really really want to um I would say get a job in a certain industry, for example, then I would say look at what's important in that industry, contribute to some open source projects in that industry. If not, build some open source projects for that industry, and yeah, you might catch the eye of some recruiter, if not some developer that might refer you to work at that
Yeah.
company.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, man. So I guess uh, it's not like a traditional way of finding a job. It's like the job is
Yes.
finding you instead.
Yes.
So I think that is also a little bit overlooked, because I would say that a lot of people, when they find a job, they will go through recruiters or they will apply manually, while you somehow just get offers because you work on it due to your interests, which I think is a little bit rare. Yeah, because most of the time people want to get a job rather than going through their interests. So I guess for you, your hobby or your like your general interest paid off,
Yeah,
right?
I guess.
So yeah,
And the thing is, so one of the other thing about open source projects compared to company projects is that, especially for bigger open source projects, firstly it's open source, right? Everybody can see. Secondly, I mean it's
yeah,
public and stuff.
yeah.
So to a certain extent, if it's a big open source project, there is a much higher level of standard required for it than an
Yes,
internal project.
yes, yes, that's
So by
definitely true.
doing that, if you're able to prove that you have the ability to work on such strict standards and stuff and still build something incredible, um, I think companies will believe that you won't have any issues handling their internal projects.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah, and also at the same time, like in its essence, also right, because open source project is hopefully is used by a lot of people, and by contributing to it, right, you are actually giving value to the open
yeah,
source project. So that's the essence of, I guess, a lot of people's contributing to open source, because you're giving
yeah.
value. So once somebody knows that you're giving value to the open source project, then it's like, dude, then the more reasons that you should hire the person.
And
Because
it's also
yeah,
about reputation. I mean,
yeah,
uh, if you are, I mean, open source world is big. It is big and small at the same time, meaning that it is big. That means there's a lot of contributors and stuff, but it is small in the sense of those are long-term maintainers and contributors. So, um, if you are in that growth circle, the reputation is there. Like for like you let's say you're an open source developer, you may not know, but there for certain open source developers that are quite big, they are like idols to like most of us commoners,
yeah,
right?
correct, yeah,
Like off the top of my head, I can name a few people. For example, recently there's this guy on GitHub. It's called Chrisef. So he's the creator of Solidity programming language, which is right now one of the main programming languages used for smart contract development
yeah,
on Ethereum blockchain. And he created lots and lots of stuff, and he's very well known. There's like other guys also like TJ Holloway Chuck. If you're in the open source community in JavaScript, you might know him. He is one of the top contributors. He used to be. He created Express, Mocha. At some point in time, if I'm not wrong, the top few hundreds packages on npm was created by him. So
oh, oh,
it's pretty insane.
right,
Yeah. So although you may not earn any direct income. Yes, TJ eventually left the community because he said that open source doesn't pay the bills.
right,
But eventually, when he started his own company to build products, many people just bought his product immediately without even like
reputation,
comparing to any other product. Right? It's the
yeah,
reputation that is there. Like
yeah,
his standard is up there because everybody in the JavaScript community have used his code some point or another.
right,
He is
yeah,
that big in the community, right?
mm,
So I guess the reputation really helped him. I can't say for sure because I don't know
yeah.
what's his like company's revenue number and stuff, but
It's paying the
like
bills lah, basically, rather
yeah,
than open source
right.
contribution, no bills. Yeah,
Right, but exactly that's the thing. So like if he, I don't know, like if he were to create the company or like to build the products that he's building now without any open source contributions, how many customers will he have? Because the products, the
definitely.
SaaS that he's building now, all his SaaS that he's building is all focused on developer tooling,
Yep,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
like without those previous contributions and his reputation that he built, how many developers will actually trust this product and stuff?
yeah.
So yeah, I guess that really is one of the thing like when doing open source, like you reap the benefits quite late, I guess. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, man. So I mean, I guess it is also, I would say, a little bit of like marketing or like branding also. So
Yeah.
meaning that, yeah, once a lot of people know you, most of the time they will support what you do in the future, whether it's
Right.
your service or your products. They will have like like that trust and loyalty is already there. So your,
Right.
whether it's open source or whether it's like the highest or framework that people like, then they will trust you and then
Right.
they will use and whatever lah.
Yes.
So I guess
Because
that's how,
reputation
yeah,
really matters.
it does, it
Yeah.
does. Yeah. So like for example, Vue, like they got a lot of I guess reputation because it's easy to use, and then a lot of people like it, and then they got a lot of sponsors by a lot of
Right.
companies also. Right.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that's about it for this interview. And I guess last question, and what are you currently doing, and if you want to say anything, you can plug in on what you're currently doing lah.
Currently I'm building a SaaS, software as a service. So idea is pretty simple. It's just an app that you can book classes. So let's say I want to learn guitar, I can book a guitar class. If I want to learn cooking, I can book a cooking class. So yeah, that's what I've been working on for
What's
the
the app
past.
called?
We haven't really decided on the name yet.
Okay.
Still in the works. We haven't buy a
Right.
domain or anything yet.
Right.
So, but if you're interested, it is the whole app, everything, is open source, 100% open source. Yikes!
Oh my god. Another one. Technical difficulties.
Yeah, on hold. So yeah, anyways, if you guys are interested, everything is open source, so you can view it on our GitHub.
Cool.
Um,
What's
my
your current company name?
Anchor Digital. So
Right. I will leave in the comments if you guys want to see more about his
yep,
company and what he
yeah,
does.
yeah, yeah. So if you guys
Right.
are interested, check it out. If you guys want to steal my code, sure. It's probably buggy.
I
So
mean,
yeah,
if it works, right? Yeah. So,
we are pre-alpha, so
yeah, lah, but it's okay. All right. So I think that's
yep.
about it. Yeah. So thank you, JJ, for coming in. Let me see if I have any
Thanks.
comments. Hello, Harris. Yes, I am. Okay. So there isn't any questions from the live stream, but it's okay. So I think that's about it. If you want to follow JJ's work, you can follow him on, I guess, his GitHub or Instagram. I will leave his socials in the description. Thanks so much, JJ, for joining us and talking about
Thanks, guys.
blockchain. It was a
Yeah,
good refresher. Hope you guys learned something because blockchain is
yeah,
really something that you should not say delve in, but maybe read up if you have free time. And
yeah. Like
also,
it could be. I mean, it will probably be very big in the coming years. So
yeah, hopefully
yeah,
lah. And also talking about how you can use open, what they call that,
open
how you
source.
can make use of the open source for you to actually get a job.
Yeah,
So yeah, and yeah, if you that's about it. Yeah, so if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want some more of this interview, subscribe and comment down what developers you want me to interview next. Maybe a Flutter developer, I don't know. So we'll see.
yeah.
See ya. Stay safe.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.